Hello students. In today's lecture, we will be discussing the transformative solutions. Especially the emphasis will be on nature-based solutions. And today we will be discussing nature-based solutions, facilitating organizations for this nature-based solutions wider application, nature-based solutions as natural capital investment, benefits of NBS, development of NBS as a concept, NBS umbrella concept and subtypes. We will distribute them under the different categories like strategic, spatial planning, engineering, socioeconomic performance context. So let's see. First thing is the transformative solutions. In the last lecture only we have discussed these transformative strategies that was primarily for adaptation. Now we will widen it. A solution is transformative if we remember when it changes underlying systems, not just symptoms, and it goes beyond the incremental actions. And for that, there is a need to shift policies, governance, behavior, finance, infrastructure, and technology. These solutions they work across scales, whether it is institutional, ecological, or social scale. Transformative solutions aim for systemic change in socio-ecological and urban systems to produce long-term systemic resilience. And this enables societies to cross adaptation limits and move into long-term resilience pathways. Transformative solutions for both adaptation and mitigation. Adaptation can change how systems absorb climate shocks, heat, flood, drought, etc. Like restoring a floodplain that permanently alters how a city manages flood risk is a good example of adaptation. What it does? Systemic reconfiguration of land use as well as hydrology. Whereas what mitigation does, it reduces, let's say, emissions through system design or system redesign, like carbon sinks, low carbon urban form, etc. Urban restoration that changes how cities regulate temperature, energy demand, and carbon balance is a good example of mitigation effect. What we are achieving? Systemic change in urban metabolism. The co-benefits of transformative solutions, like we get the resilience, carbon, biodiversity, and equity. So it's a wide palette of benefits come to us through these transformative solutions. So transformative solutions can target either adaptation or mitigation, but often targets both simultaneously. Like nature-based solution that can reduce heat will go for the sequestration of the carbon. Nature-based solution as a transformative solutions. Now let us see how we can really look at nature-based solution as one of the main vehicle of this concept of transformative solutions. For that we can look through four lenses: ecological transformation, from fragmented patches to connected ecological networks like sponge cities, catchment scale wetlands, etc. We can go for the social transformation lens, community co-production, enhanced stewardship, equity and access for environmental justice. These are the good example for this social transformation lens. And nature-based solution also can be looked through the governance transformation lens. Cross-sectoral planning, institutionalizing blue-green infrastructure norms, financing mechanism like PPP, climate funds, carbon markets, they are a good example. And the fourth lens is the urban form and infrastructure transformation. Hybrid infra like gray, green, blue, land use shift, heat and stormwater sensitive planning. But let us also define what is nature-based solutions. And for this, we will depend on the UNE first. Actions to protect, conserve, restore, and sustainably use and manage natural or modified terrestrial, freshwater, coastal, and marine ecosystems. which address social, economic, and environmental challenges effectively and adaptively, while simultaneously providing human well being, ecosystem services, resilience, and biodiversity benefits. This particular definition is from the United Nations Environmental Assembly. This is the world's highest level decision making body on the environment. There are also other organizations. I will be going through them one by one, who are facilitating the spread of this nature based solution. The first one is IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature. This is an international organization working in the field of nature conservation and sustainable use of natural resources. IUCN was formed in 1948 after the World War II to foster international cooperation for nature conservation, and it was called as IUPN, Protection of Nature. In 56, it adopted its current name, that is IUCN, and collaborates with the UNEP. The next organization, IPCC, this is the UN body for assessing the science related to climate change. This was established by the WMO and UNEP. This was endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1988 only. In its sixth report, that is 2123, that declared that climate change is widespread, rapid, and intensifying, with human influence unequivocal. Next organization we would like to discuss, that is IPBES, Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. I hope you remember all these organizations. We have discussed them previously. This was initiated by the UN in consultation with UNEP and UNESCO, FAO, and UNDP in 2012. IPBES was established to strengthen the science policy interface for biodiversity and ecosystem services for conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity, long term human well being, and sustainable development. Then UNDRR, all of us we know that they are closely linked with integrating NBS for disaster risk reduction and climate adaptation. UNDRR promotes NBS as cost effective, scalable actions that protect, restore, and sustainably manage ecosystems to reduce disaster risks and enhance the biodiversity to improve human well being. Their What's in Action Nature Based Solutions for Disaster Risk Reduction guide that supports countries in implementing NBS aligned with the Sendai framework. UNDRA developed a comprehensive toolkit to integrate NBS into national disaster and climate risk plans, encouraging national disaster and climate risk reduction plans, encouraging multi-sector coordination and financing mechanism. So now we will also go for the theoretical concept behind these nature-based solutions, how it has been projected as natural capital investment. So probably you remember we discussed this natural capital investment. NBS are inspired by, supported by, or copied from nature. So central philosophy is to maintain and enhance the natural capital as the basis of NBS. So natural capital, if you remember, we discussed it, that it refers to the stock of natural assets, which includes renewable resources, non-renewable resources, ecosystem services like climate regulation, pollination, nutrient cycle, flood protection. Key idea is nature is an asset, just like machines or buildings, but we have been running it down without accounting for its depletion in economics. Our economies are embedded within nature, not external to it. And this is a very important philosophy to understand. And it has been, this particular concept has been propagated by Sir Partho Dasgupta, who is a very noted economist in the University of Cambridge. He discussed about the inclusive wealth, natural capital plus the human capital plus the produced capital. And this summation of all three is actually the inclusive wealth. A sustainable economy maintains or increases this total wealth over time, not just GDP. GDP is not the sustainability indicator. GDP measures flows of good and services but ignores depreciation of natural capital. So, GDP is to a certain extent, we can compare it with the urban metabolism. But natural capital depreciation is not going to get any particular significant uh, addition role into this GDP discussion. Hence, a country can appear to be growing as per the GDP, while its natural wealth can decline. And it happens with most of the countries. Probably countries like India is going through it right now. And I talked about the inclusive wealth, and that talks about human capital as well as produced or manufactured capital. What is human capital? The knowledge, skills, health, and education embodied in individuals that enable them to be productive. This is built through education, healthcare, and training. And this human capital determines the capacity of societies to use both produced as well as the natural capital effectively and sustainably. And the produced capital is the physical man made assets that contribute to production and well being. Traditional economics has focused too heavily on this form, often ignoring the natural capital. Like we are having the buildings, infra, machinery, tools, technology, transport systems, everything will come under this produced capital. We will be discussing now the benefits of nature based solutions. Single NBA solution may address multiple aspects simultaneously. That is benefit number one. Second benefit, it can address a variety of social challenges as well. Third one is the potential to be cost effective, resource and energy efficient, and resilient to change if designed and maintained efficiently. These are potential to contribute to green growth, future proofing society, fostering citizens' well being and human health, and they provide business opportunities. NBS can be at incremental stage to transitional stage, and it can help us to go for the transformational changes as well. I will bring back this good example, the benefits of nature based solutions, where you can see if we take this particular river is flowing, we can really compare it maybe first with the forest economy. In the forest ecosystem, which is having the protection, restoration, and sustainable use of forest landscape. As the river flows, we can see at the end is the having coastal ecosystem, and in between we can have this wetland ecosystem again, which will provide us the water storage, flood protection, food production. And the coastal ecosystems we have already discussed a lot, which brings the community resilience, DRR, economic development all together. And while flowing the river, maybe it is crossing a urban area. So we can talk about urban green and blue spaces, which empowers climate regulation, betters human health, social development, and green jobs. And also, definitely, it will cross certain agricultural fields where these agroforestry systems are going to be managed sustainably, so the nature-based solutions will offer the benefit of food security, water regulation, economic and social development. So from this particular interesting image, we find that NBS can help every different type of ecosystem in different ways. And also we should not forget that the river itself is getting the benefit of the natural flow, environmental flow, which enables the flood protection and water security. But there are certain limitations and risks of non-transformative nature-based solution. Sometimes we have seen the greenwashing or small-scale beautification projects. This cannot be really equated with the NBS discussion which we are doing right now. Lack of ecological expertise, that can be a limiting factor. Governance fragmentation is very important. We have discussed that in the governance also there shall be very good communication. Unequal distribution of benefit will be another very strong challenge, which we discussed already under environmental equity or justice. Now let us see the development of NBS as a concept. Way back in 1960s, ecological engineering became very popular. We learned the ecosystem design. Late 70s, ecosystem services became a very emerging concept and we learned the ecosystem functions which are beneficial to human beings. Late 1980s, sustainable development became the very common phrase. Biodiversity conservation was discussed along with it in the NBS track. In the 1990s, the green infrastructure that to control the urban sprawl, ecological network creation, and stormwater management, we discussed green infrastructure. From early 2000 to date, we can see that NBS is being discussed as a solutions using nature. From that, the paradigm expanded to nature-based solution, which we are in today's time using. Early 2000s, we see the agricultural problem and also the industrial problem, industrial design challenges have been taken care by this nature. We thought about the land use planning and water resource management a lot where we could use the nature. In the late 2000 and till now, as we are using this nature-based solution, the term, we can see ecosystem-based adaptation for the climate change. That is a very predominant form of NBS discussion platform. We also see resilience to climate change, use of nature to address social change, social challenges. These are also becoming part and parcel of the nature-based solution discussion. So now we will be discussing the nature-based solutions and different concepts under this particular umbrella term. And when we will be discussing them, we will also categorize them under certain brackets, like under strategic context, spatial planning context, engineering context, and the socio-economic performance context. So under these four thematic areas, the NBS umbrella concept will be discussed. Under the strategic concept, we will be discussing the ecosystem-based adaptation and eco-DRR. Under the spatial planning context, green infrastructure, blue infrastructure, and blue-green infrastructure. Under the engineering context, we will be starting with the very old discussion which started in the mid 1900, that is the environmental engineering. This is promoting the hard engineering. Whereas later on the discussion came to the ecological engineering, which is the soft engineering, and also we are having very specific type of approaches, like we would like to have a drainage system in the urban areas as sustainable as possible. So this type of context also has been quite common in the nature-based system platform. Under the socio-economic performance context, we will be discussing the ecosystem services, which we have already discussed, but we will bring it back for the sake of getting it connected. Umbrella concept of nature-based solution, the first one we will be discussing under the strategic context and the ecosystem-based adaptation. I think all of us will remember ecosystem-based adaptation, but let us just go for a recap of it. This is a climate change adaptation strategy, and this harnesses biodiversity and ecosystem services. EBA helps in mitigating and adapting to the adverse effects of climate variability. and this emphasizes conservation, management, and restoration of ecosystems. The key features of this EBA is biogeophysical processes such as evapotranspiration, soil stabilization, and carbon sequestration, adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity of both ecosystems and human communities through ecosystem resilience practices. Cost benefit analysis. This is often evaluated using long term socioeconomic and ecological benefits compared to the traditional hard infrastructure. What are the good examples of ecosystem based adaptation? Coastal protection, forest restoration, etc. Next concept we'll be discussing is the ecosystem based disaster risk reduction. By definition, it is a strategy that utilizes biodiversity and ecosystem services to reduce disaster risk and enhance community resilience. EcoDRR helps in reducing hazard, exposure, and vulnerability through natural means. Strengthening ecosystem integrity by promoting conservation, sustainable management, and restoration as integral components of risk reduction. Let us see its key features as well. So, the key features of EcoDRR, again, the biogeophysical processes, which involves natural mechanisms like flood regulation by wetlands, slope stabilization by vegetation, and wave attenuation by coral reefs. It's also having a very strong feature, that is the resilience building. It enhances the resilience of both the ecosystems and human communities by maintaining ecological functions and connectivities. A good example will be mangrove and dune restoration for coastal protection, reforestation and watershed management to prevent landslides and floods, wetland conservation for flood mitigation and water regulation. They are the other good examples for this EcoDR. Now we are coming to the next basket of this concept, that is the spatial planning context. First one is the green infrastructure. Its definition is that it is a network of natural and semi-natural spaces designed to deliver a wide array of ecosystem services integrated in urbanized landscapes using spatial planning and ecological science to enhance environmental, economic, and social sustainability. You look at the features, you find the multifunctionality. GI serves multiple functions, including UHI mitigation, stormwater management, and biodiversity enhancement. Connectivity, it promotes ecological connectivity and landscape permeability, which is crucial for species migration and genetic flow. And we can do the quantitative assessment. Implementation of GI is often supported by spatial analysis and GI based tools to model ecosystem services provisions like INVEST, Urban Green Index. Some of them we have already discussed earlier. Urban forestry, green roofs and walls, they are good example of this green infrastructure. Now we'll be discussing the next NBS concept, that is blue infrastructure, which is having the spatial planning context. This is strategically planned network of water bodies and hydrological systems integrated into urban and regional planning. It optimizes water management, enhance biodiversity, and support human well-being. This is a complementary to green infrastructure to create the blue-green infrastructure, which I will be discussing next. Key features of blue infrastructure. The first thing I would like to mention, the ecosystem-based management, which is integrated approach which helps to maintain and restore ecological integrity while supporting socio-economic objectives. The next feature, hydrological modeling. Blue infrastructure design is guided by hydrological models that simulate water flow, sediment transportation, and nutrient cycling. The next feature for blue infrastructure which needs mention is the climate resilience. Blue infrastructure is central to increasing climate resilience through flood attenuation, ground recharge, and temperature regulation. A good example will be riparian buffers. Now we come for the final spatial planning context concept, that is the blue-green infrastructure. Blue-green infrastructure integrates blue and green systems to create a resilient, multifunctional urban environment that manages water sustainably while enhance the biodiversity, health and livability of the community. Is having a very good integration examples like constructed wetlands where blue and green are being integrated for stormwater treatment. Rain gardens and biosoils that combine vegetation with water retention. Floodable parks that act as a recreation space in dry periods and retention basins during floods. River restoration projects that include riparian vegetation for habitat and flood management. The key features of BGI is the integration and networking. Defragmentation is the key to success of any BGI and can be modeled as we have discussed in our earlier lectures. Ecosystem service provisions. BGI reduces urban flooding and drought impacts, improves water and air quality, supports urban biodiversity. So we can find n number of ecosystem services from BGI. Very good example will be wetland for BGI. Now we'll be coming to the next basket, that is the engineering context. In this we will start with the environmental engineering, which involves the application of scientific and engineering principles to improve and maintain the environment for the protection of human health and for the conservation and management of resources. The key features for environmental engineering are the pollution control technologies, environmental engineering design systems for the treatment of pollutants, including advanced wastewater treatment plants using techniques such as membrane bioreactors and air pollution control devices like electrostatic precipitators, scrubbers, etc. Second feature I would like to discuss, that is the resource recovery. Environmental engineering emphasizes the recovery and recycling of resources from waste streams, such as energy recovery from waste to energy plants or nutrient recovery from wastewater through technologies like struvite precipitation, which recovers phosphorus and nitrogen from wastewater. And the third feature which we will be discussing for environmental engineering, that is sustainability and the life cycle analysis. Environmental engineers, they employ life cycle assessment to assess the environmental impact of engineered systems throughout their life cycle, from raw material extraction to end of life disposal. This approach helps in designing systems that minimize ecological footprints. Good examples will be water treatment plants, air pollution control systems, waste management systems, etc. Under the engineering context only, our next NBS concept will be ecological engineering. Design and construction of ecosystems combine principles from ecology, engineering, and environmental science when we go for the ecological engineering. And this ecological engineering creates sustainable and self-regulating systems which aim to solve environmental problems through ecological means and minimizes reliance on non-renewable resources. Good examples are constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment, bioengineering in erosion control, restoring ecosystems, which can really help in many different social ways as well, creating wildlife habitats within urban environments. So, the features which we need to really discuss for this ecological engineering, the first one is the system thinking. We discussed the system thinking, if you remember, in our previous modules. Ecological engineering is grounded in systems thinking. focusing on the interconnections between different ecological components and their emergent properties. These ecological engineering projects are designed to enhance ecosystem resilience and stability under varying environmental conditions. So, the second feature is this design for resilience. And the third feature is the self organizing systems. Ecological engineering focuses on designing systems that can self organize, self heal, and self maintain. Thus, they reduce the need for external inputs and interventions. The design process often incorporates principles of ecological succession and resilience theory. And the last engineering concept we'll be discussing, that is sustainable urban drainage systems. This is a group of drainage techniques designed to manage surface water runoff in urban environments and aim to replicate the natural hydrological cycle and promote infiltration, attenuation, and filtration. And as a result, they reduce the volume and velocity of runoff and improve the water quality. So, the key features of this sustainable urban drainage systems are hydrological performance. They are evaluated based on their ability to manage peak flow, reduce runoff volume, and improve water quality through processes such as filtration, sedimentation, and bioremediation. The design criteria, their design incorporates criteria such as hydraulic efficiency, pollutant removal efficacy, and amenity value. The modular systems we can find in SUDS that this involve a combination of modular systems including permeable pavements, detention basins and infiltration trenches. So it is very easy probably to integrate it through proper plan. And many a times these sustainable urban drainage systems actually being considered as a extended umbrella of environmental engineering. Good examples are bioretention systems, detention basins, etc. And the final one we'll be discussing, that is having socio-economic performance context. So the final NBS concept is the ecosystem services, which all of us we know quite well that they are the benefits that human derive from natural ecosystem. These include direct, indirect contribution of ecosystems to human well-being, supporting life, economic activities, and cultural values. ESS form the foundation of NBS by highlighting the value of healthy, functioning ecosystems in sustaining human societies. The purpose of ESS is to recognize, quantify, and maintain the multiple ways ecosystem contribute to human welfare and to integrate these benefits into planning, policy, and environmental management decisions. So, this is the summary of what we had discussed today, that NBS umbrella concept is having four different contexts: strategic, spatial planning, engineering, and socio-economic. We discussed all the concepts one by one. So, today's summary is that transformative solution, NBS, who facilitates NBS, and natural capital investment from the NBS understanding benefits the development of NBS as a concept over time, and finally the NBS umbrella concept. These are the references for you. Thank you.